Hello everyone, I am Kiran Joshi. Hope you all are doing well. I am here with the first video of Class 9 History Chapter 4 Forest, Society and Colonialism. Through this chapter, we'll try to understand the variety of ways in which forests were used by the communities living within them. We'll also learn how industrialization and urbanization created new demand on forests, new rules of use, mapping of forests, etc. If we look around to find the things that come from forests, we'll see that the list is too long, such as paper in books, desks and tables, doors and windows, spices, toffee wrappers, and many more. The forests provide herbs for medicinal purpose, bamboo, wood for fuel, fruits, flowers, animals, birds, and many other things. Now, before we move further with this presentation, let me ask you this. Which of these two pictures of the Amazon rainforest do you like the best? Do comment your answer in the comment section below. In the Amazon forests or in the Western Ghats, around 500 different plant species can be found in one forest patch, that is in a small forest area. But this diversity in plant species is fast disappearing. Between 1700 and 1995, during the period of industrialization, 9.3% of world's total forest area was cleared for industrial uses, cultivation, pastures and fuel wood. This disappearing of forests is referred to as deforestation. The process of deforestation started centuries ago. With the increase in population, the demand for the demand for food went up. So the forests were cleared to bring more land area under cultivation. Thus, deforestation is not a new practice. But during the colonial period, cultivation expanded rapidly, and it was due to many reasons. In 19th century, in Europe, the demand for food grains and for industrial raw material increased due to urbanization and industrialization. Therefore, British encouraged the production of commercial crops like jute, sugar, wheat and cotton. Now, the second reason for rapid expansion of cultivation, in early 19th century, the colonial state considered the forests as unproductive and therefore should be brought under cultivation. So that the land could yield agricultural products and revenue and enhance the income of the state. So between 1880 and 1920, the cultivated area rose by 7.7 million hectares. The agricultural expansion is viewed as a sign of progress. But at the same time, we should always remember that the land expansion for cultivation results in deforestation. In the early 19th century, the Royal Navy of England needed regular timber supply for their ships. Therefore, forest resources of India were explored. Trees were felled on large scale and huge quantities of timber were exported from India. The expansion of railways created a new demand. Wood was needed as fuel to run the trains, and to hold the railway tracks together, sleepers were required. Approximately 2000 sleepers for 1 mile of railway track. From the 1860s, the railway network expanded rapidly and railway tracks spread through the country, resulted in felling of trees in large numbers. The government gave out contracts to individuals to supply the required quantities, and these contractors cut the trees very carelessly. There was a growing demand for tea, coffee and rubber. To meet this demand, plantations of tea, coffee, rubber were to be developed. The colonial government gave the vast forest areas to European planters at cheap rates. These forest areas were cleared of forests and planted with tea or coffee. By now, we have understood that the British needed and used forests for their various requirements. Now they started worrying that the local people and traders would destroy the forests. So they appointed Dietrich Brandis, a German expert, as the first Inspector General of Forests in India. Brandis recommended to introduce a system of managing the forests and to train people in the science of conservation. Rules for use of forest resources had to be framed. Felling of trees and grazing had to be restricted. Those who did not follow the system were to be punished. Brandis set up the Indian Forest Service in 1864, and in 1865 the Indian Forest Act was formulated. In 1906, the Imperial Forest Research Institute was set up at Dehradun, where the system of scientific forestry was taught. Though many people now feel that this system is not scientific at all. In scientific forestry, natural forests with different type of trees were cut down, and in their place one type of tree was planted in straight rows. This is called a plantation. The forest officials surveyed the forests, made working plans for forest management. For example, they planned how much of the plantation area to cut every year. The area cut was then to be replanted so that it was ready to be cut again in some years. The Forest Act of 1865 was amended in 1878 and then in 1927. The 1878 Act divided the forests into three categories: reserved forest, protected forest, and village forests. And reserve forests were the best forest, and the villagers could not take anything from these forests. The forest officials and the villagers had very different views for a good forest. The forest department wanted tall and straight trees that could provide hard wood for building ships and railways. On the other hand, villagers wanted forest with a mixture of species that could fulfill their requirements. In forest areas, people use forest products, roots, leaves, fruits, and climbers for many things. Fruits and tubers are nutritious to eat. Herbs are used for medicine, wood for agricultural implement, bamboo for making fences, baskets, etc. In the forests, almost everything is available. Leaves stitched together to make plates and cups, oil for cooking, and to light lamps can be pressed from the fruit of the mahua tree. You can see the mahua fruit in the background. But after the Forest Act, the everyday practices of villagers, such as cutting wood, grazing their cattle, collecting fruits and roots, hunting and fishing, all became illegal. People had to steal wood from the forests. If they were caught, the forest guards would take bribes from them. The police constable and forest guards harassed people also by demanding free food for them. European colonialism affected the practices of shifting cultivation. The shifting cultivation was affected most in this period. Shifting cultivation is a traditional agricultural practice in many parts in Asia, Africa, and South America, and has many local names. Such as in India, it is called dhya, jhum, bewar, podu, etc. In shifting cultivation, some areas of the forest are cut and burnt in rotation. Seeds are sown in the ashes, and the crop is harvested by October November. The cultivation of mixture of crops is done for some time uh, in such plots, and then the plots are left fallow for 10 to 12 years for the forest to grow back. The shifting cultivation was regarded as harmful practice for forests by the European foresters because they thought that if a land was used for cultivation for few years, it could not grow trees for uh, railways and timber. Moreover, burning a forest also created danger of spreading flames and burning valuable timber. Another drawback of shifting cultivation for colonial government was the difficulty to calculate taxes. Therefore, the government banned the shifting cultivation. As a result, many communities had to move from their homes in the forest and had to change occupations. However, some communities resisted through large or small rebellions. The new forest laws prohibited the people to hunt. Before the forest laws, the forest dwellers had survived by hunting deer, um, partridges, and a variety of small animals. While on one hand the forest laws deprived people of their customary rights to hunt, on the other hand, hunting of big animals became a sport. Hunting had been a sport activity for kings, princes, and nobility for centuries, but under colonial rule, the scale of hunting increased so much that various species became almost extinct. The British believed that by killing large, dangerous animals, they would civilize India. They started giving rewards for killing tigers, wolves, and other large animals with the excuse that these animals were a threat to cultivators. Between 1875 and 1925, over 80,000 tigers, 1,50,000 leopard, and 2 lakh wolves were killed just to fetch rewards. Later, the killing of the tiger was considered as sport trophy, and certain areas of forests were reserved for hunting. While most of the people have to face a lot of hardship as the forest department took control of the forests, some people found new opportunities in trade. Many communities started trading in forest products. Trading in forest products was not a new practice. From medieval period onwards, the Adivasi communities had traded elephants and other goods like ivory, horns, hides, bamboo, silk cocoon, fibers, grasses, gums, and resins through nomadic communities such as Banjaras. But the Britishers regulated the trade completely. The right to trade in forest products uh, of particular areas was given to many big European trading firms. Grazing and hunting by local people were restricted. Many pastor, uh, pastoralists and nomadic communities lost their livelihoods. They had to work in factories, mines, and plantations. These new opportunities of work did not always bring positive changes in the lives of the people. Various forest communities, such as Santhals and Orans from Jharkhand, Gonds from Chhattisgarh, were recruited to work on tea plantations in Assam. They had to work at low wages and poor work conditions, and they could not return home easily. Now, there are some questions for revision, children. Why did the colonial government start commercial forestry in India? Give any three reasons. Second, explain any four ideas of Dietrich Brandis for the management of forests in India during the British period. Third, how did the Forest Act affect the lives of the villagers? Fourth, how did the British exploit the forest resources of India for their economic development? Fifth, why did the scale of hunting increase to such an extent that various species became almost extinct during colonial rule? That's all for this presentation. Hope you liked it helpful. Thank you.